Hello, everyone, and welcome to Horror Night Oasis, a radio show where we discuss all the latest movies and news from the world of horror. Join me tonight, as always, is my co-host Ian. Ian, are you there?
Um, Maybe.
How are you doing, my friend?
I am doing quite well.
That is good to hear. I know it's been a little rough on your end, and again, I don't want to get into too much details, but yeah, it's been one of those weeks. I think it's been. I don't know if we did we do a show last week. I don't even remember. It's just all fuzzy, and but April is kind of one of those months where it's just it kind of it's just it's not one that we kind of plan out. I mean, not no fault of our own. We're kind of just busy around this time of the month. Um, Before we go into like our marathon of marathons, where we have so much planned from May on, and but yeah, we're here to churn one out again, and it's always fun. And again, we pick and choose these films, and we don't know until like a couple days or a week before, or just something that like dawns our interest. And this one definitely did that because it hit a few boxes that we kind of like to check off every now and then. And for the longest while, we've been wanting to do another doll marathon, but again, things have just kind of hit or miss, and we're here a week, gone a week. Um, so hopefully this will scratch that itch for tonight's review because it kind of has a little bit of everything that we kind of try to get out of those doll films or a doll marathon. And I guess without further ado, Ian, I mean, there's not really much else newsworthy to discuss. Let's just get into the review of the Fuzzies from well, I guess last year, but it's also based off a short film. Working into that a little bit before we got on here, so that's always nice. That's kind of like the main thing nowadays is like everything starts off as like a short film. The original Lights Out did that before they turned that into a feature. Um, I think Oculus was a short film before that got turned into a feature. So I'm always like to see these, directors and people involved in the project, you know, from something so small and get the funds to make it bigger and broader and expand the universe of the world that they create. And that's what I'm assuming happened with the Fuzzies, where we're introduced to a few characters. We're introduced to Mary, Rose, and Mike, or Mick. I'm sorry, Mick. And basically, they're all childhood friends with this girl that they were friends with younger days named Shirley. And Shirley went on to become a little bit more well known and famous through a television show with her ventriloquist puppet Sunny. It was a children's TV show, sort of like a Mister Rogers with a puppet, basically telling or a Blue's Clues. I mean, again, it's just one of those '90s children's shows with the puppet. What was it, Eureka's Castle, stuff like that. But this is like again, I'm assuming it takes place. I'm assuming around the '70s because it has that vibe of '70s or early '60s, late '60s, early
Yeah.
'70s. Um, so it was around that time frame, and Shirley basically passed away. Something happened to her, and she died. And Mary, Rose, and Mick are all called to the reading of a letter, and basically all the money that Shirley made for the TV show is going to a children's foundation, and within the letter they'll get the Sunny estate, which is basically where Shirley lived and Sunny and all the other puppets, and it's sort of like what was it called, the Sunny Sanctuary is the name of the estate, and they go there and they live and they must find Sunny. So something happened and they were like, wasn't Sunny buried with Shirley? And like, no, it's just a rumor, just to keep kids at peace or keep it at base, keep it under wraps. And so the all three of them just decide to go there, and they would meet with the attorney on Monday. And once there, they just sort of reminisce. And Rose is sort of the bigger fan of between the three friends of Mary and Mick. She's the one that actually kind of watched the show and enjoyed the show, and she has like a lot of more involvement with the show as a fan. Mary, I mean, Mary and Mick were kind of just they weren't the best of friends. They were kind of mean. I would assume they just didn't give her much friendship and attention as younger uh, during her youth, and so we kind of talk and reminisce about that. And they're just going through the house, the estate, and they're seeing all the weird imagery, the paintings, the uh, marionettes, puppets. Just it's like a little cartoon funhouse in the estate. Different colored wallpaper. One has hot air balloons. Um, there's just VHS all over the place with like the episodes that aired. Just a bunch of stuff like that where it's just you feel like you're walking into a children's studio, but it's someone's house. And so things are going fine. They're just you know drink. I wouldn't say they're drinking, but they're just like talking and just reminiscing back and forth. And they decide to watch one of the episodes, and it dealt with friendship. And also, again, I'm getting a little ahead of myself. Um, well, one, no, I'm not. No, I'm not. They watch the episode, and it's about friendship. And basically, there's a segment in the television show where she gives out shout outs to specific people. And the people that she shouts out is Mary, Rose, and Mick. And again, this is an earlier episode. Um, and so, like, once that happens, then for again, I'm assuming that like transports them or does something where everything comes to life in the house. And so they're sort of in I wouldn't say a different dimension, but they're just like it awakens everything. And then that's when the mailman comes and delivers a package with candy. Um, that it was like Sonny's favorite candy. And so they're just chowing down and eating the candy. Mick gets drunk, and he also later on there's a scene where he goes to the bathroom later on and he snorts cocaine. And so they're all just again there talking, doing whatever, um, talking about the past and what they're gonna do with their fortune, how they're gonna if they're gonna keep the house, if they're gonna split it, what they'll get with it. And once the tape is played, and that's when things start to sort of go array, where things start to move, paintings start to change, um, drawers start to move, things coming out. I wouldn't say shadows or anything, but just like it starts. They're not paying. They're nonchalant. They're not paying attention, and things are just happening around them, and they're not paying any attention to it in the background or anything like that until when Mick gets to the bathroom where he does blow. And then that's where we have the picture above the toilet, and it changes from um, a, like a frowning face to a smiley face. Um, and then that's where he sees a lot of stop motion animation, a lot of hair, just like puppet hair is moving around in the drawers, and he doesn't know what it is. And then he gets attacked. Something grabs his legs. Something's hitting him, and then that's when the other puppet comes out of the toilet. He screams. The puppet screams. He goes down there, and it's sort of like Evil Dead 2-ish, where where it like has the POV of like the entity of the puppet or the spirits of the house or something, where it's like swooping down into the bathtub and coming up, and then it's like it's going to Mick. And it has a lot of I wouldn't say Evil Dead 2, but more like Army of Darkness. It has that slapstick a little bit, to it, where he gets sucked in the toilet, and it's like a little bit of stop motion, a little, some actual, puppet legs, doll legs, stuff like that. And but anyway, I'm just going all over the place because the film's sort of like that in general. So basically, what they're trying to do is to go to the house to find Sonny, the puppet, the ventriloquist puppet, and we get some hints along the way of something happening with Shirley, and like Sonny is sort of becoming more alive, as Shirley was getting, I guess, leading up to her death. Something was going on with Sonny, and it kind of, there's sort of a deeper meaning to everything as the film progresses to the conclusion, more towards friendship and all your friends and all that stuff, which I don't want to get too much into, since it is sort of a new film. So again, there's a lot of the main gist of this is all the puppets and the stop motion. Again, there's stop motion puppets. There's weird spider puppets, or stop motion creature. There's tentacle puppets. There's again, I don't want to get into specifics of the puppets. And then there's the mailman and a specific scene with him in the woods, which was actually probably the best scene in the movie. Once that happened, like, oh, cool. I wish that was more the case. But it comes and goes. Yeah, I didn't mind it overall, but it didn't really pull me in as I kind of wanted it to. The characters, I didn't felt like they were given enough depth. Like, obviously there's history with them and Shirley, and it's kind of sprinkled in throughout the film that they weren't the best of friends, and like she wanted someone there or people there around her, and instead she made her own. And that's kind of, the memories of all her, what she wanted is like embedded into the puppets and all the dolls around her. And there's not really, and what eventually leads to Sonny and everything that happens there. And I just felt like, again, like there wasn't enough there to really, like, I was like really caring about like why. Like Mick was just like a druggie and a drunk, and he just like, there's like no really comeuppance for like him, in a sense of like, oh, I'm sorry for what I did when I was, what we did for younger. I think the only one who did that was kind of like Rose and Mary, mainly Rose. But like there was a lot of stuff like that where like I'm just not feeling like this journey these characters are on, to finding the reasoning behind Shirley and figuring out the secret of finding Sonny. Again, I like the aesthetic of everything. I like the look of the house. I like the puppets. I like the stop motion when it was used. I like some of the gore which was used, and like when someone gets attacked and then like their blood is just string and felt, and I was like, that's cool. That's a cool little detail that I like to, because like someone's hand gets chopped off and it's like stop motion with like strings coming out instead of like entrails. I just like, there was good set pieces. I like the set pieces with the house and the little animation of Sonny appearing and disappearing, and just like a little sprinkled in throughout. There's like a good like animation segment at the towards the conclusion of the film that I liked. And I was like, for a low budget indie like this, I mean, it's very ambitious, and I like that about the film. I just felt like it just needed a little bit more there to like pull you in, because the story is good and it's not the most original, but I liked it. Like it's sort of like like Mr. Crockett, like a year or two ago that came out, also sort of in that same vein, where it's like a children's TV host and something happens and goes insane, and all the puppets and everything that he did in the TV shows comes to life. And so again, it's a whole like going, inheriting a house, going there and secrets unravel. I mean, it's not original, but what they did with it, took their own spin on it. I did enjoy that aspect of it. Uh, I just wish, again, I wish there was a little bit more energy into it, because it just felt like it was just like this sort of this straight line, and it doesn't really swerve off the line too much. I mean, obviously there's, again, the stop motion and the puppets and like the puppet gore, um, without giving too much away, and the puppet attacks and the creature attacks. Like, there's some good imagery and some good designs in the puppets and the creatures. I just wish they did a little bit more with it to give it a little bit more of a. It's kind of soft in a way. Um, it's not too in your face with like its approach. It's just very, very soft. Um, it doesn't. I mean, it's trying to do something out there and original, and I applaud it. It just, it just didn't really, when you get more out of a Firefly Funhouse episode from Bray Wyatt back when he was doing that skit with the fiend and everything, it's just like it was more go for the gusto with that. And like, again, it needed to have a little bit more, just a little bit more of the puppet's antics, I'm assuming, in there, in my opinion. Because like, again, I dug it for what it was, but parts of it kind of dragged, and it didn't have much of an energy behind it. And that's kind of the one detriment, in my opinion. It didn't really go for the gusto, and it's like it's just kind of mellow as the film progressed. And like, don't get me, it had some good moments. I applaud the moments. I liked the set pieces and the moments that it created. It just needed to do a little bit more with that, because it just felt like that first act, even up to the hour, it was like, are we going to get anything interesting? And then like finally, because like they're looking for Sonny, and like they don't find Sonny until like the last 20 minutes, and like, it's just like, it's more of just like, again, budgetary constraints. I understand that, and I don't know if you really wanted to go out all crazy like that. I mean, I understand that too, but it just felt just mellow, as opposed to something like I expected a little bit more from it. I mean, it's there's parts there, again, I enjoyed, um, especially that forest scene and the house scene. I enjoyed as well, but it just felt like it needed a little bit more wild antics with like crazy dolls and puppets. But Ian, I'll let you have your thoughts, and then we'll go back and forth.
Well, I agree with what you said. Like, it definitely needed more. Um, I did think they did a pretty decent job with the creep factor. Because I was like, ooh, like some of the imagery and like the scene changes and all that was just, I thought it was really well done. But I felt like a lot of the line delivery was a little flat. Um, I mean, obviously, we were supposed to care about one character above the rest. The other two were kind of just shitty. Um, and the ending was really predictable. But I loved the imagery. Like, that's probably like my favorite thing about this movie is just how cool it looked when they were doing things. Like the chalk drawings and how it would go from like puppet to chalk to like stop motion, and it was just wild. And that scene in the woods was probably one of the coolest things I've seen in one of these kind of movies, which I also wanted more from. It's like it's like I want more from this. I want this to last just a tiny bit longer, because I feel like there was, to add like more spooky horror. I want to say body horror, but technically it was and wasn't.
Yeah, it's puppet horror.
It would be it'd be terrifying in Sesame Street.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think this is a movie that's going to be a hit or miss. I liked it. I liked it for what it was. It checks on my boxes. I just wish it had just a little bit more and trimmed down some of the, a little bit of a couple of scenes here and there. But yeah, I just, and maybe have more passion. Like the actors all kind of just felt like they were there instead of like, really trying to be a part of this world. Because everything, like I said, it just felt a little flat on.
Yeah, they were more straight laced in a world that was supposed to be sort of tongue in cheek. Like
Yeah.
it's supposed to have that mentality of being a little campy, and like they're just playing it so straight laced. I mean, everything else was over the top or zany, and like they were just dull in a sense. I mean, I don't mean that as a nod to the actors in general. I'm just saying like, it's just like their characters were just like, oh, nonchalant do this, nonchalant do that, and just like pay no attention to this. And like I get it. I mean, I kind of understand it, but for the film, it's just that's one of the things where it just like really just kind of pulled me out of it. Where it's like, again, it's just like I needed more from the characters, and like we're supposed to be involved with these three friends,
Yeah.
and like they didn't really give us much of a backstory for like what they did to Shirley. Honestly, and just yeah, they weren't good friends, but give me something to sink my teeth into. What did they do to her that was like that she had to go on and and create all these puppets to have friends. Like there needed to be something like that. They needed to go through there. I mean, there's parts in there where like they're looking at pictures when they were children and stuff like that. But like, why couldn't before they watch like the episode, like they have like home movies or something of like all of them together and like showing them like be mean or something like that, or like tell more stories of what they did and like why they regret it.
Yeah.
Or just something instead of just like, oh, we weren't good friends, and Mick's a drug addict. He does hard drugs and drinks himself constantly. And then it's like, like there, like him, like, when he sees the one video of her on the TV, like, wow, she became hot. It's like it's just like one of those where like, they're not. They're their life lesson, like don't treat someone bad when they're younger, because you might get a comeuppance when you're older, something like to that effect. I mean, there's a meaning to the film. Again, I don't want to give too much away, but I, getting really heavy into spoilers. But I mean, we kind of danced around it here and there, but it's just like there needs to be more with the characters, and like again, like have like the puppets. Like again, I like the creatures and the puppets, but like maybe there could have been like a puppet or something that's like related to like the friends. Like each puppet's like a representation of one of the friends that was bad to her, and like maybe the two-headed puppet was supposed to be Mick and Mary, perhaps. I'm not sure, or something like that, or the spider puppet. Where spider creature was something like that, where it's like digging into her, like being mean or something like that. There might be something to that extent there, but it's not one of those. It's like full on like, oh, that makes sense. It's just like it's kind of loosely probably based on something, but it's neither here nor there. There needs to be a little bit more substance, to that extent. But I didn't mean to butt in there.
Oh, you're
If
good.
I did.
But yeah, no, I really think The bathroom scene was fun. The dollhouse scene was great. The wood scene, like they had like really good scenes, but it was like, you know, hit it, like the rest of it just felt off. Like, I mean, I kind of got like Pan's Labyrinth kind of vibes where it was like the real world versus the fantasy world.
Yeah.
But like I enjoyed that. I enjoyed the way the rooms looked. The entire house was just cool. I'm like, man, I kind of want to do something like that. But I live in an apartment, so I can't paint eyeballs all over my room. But things like that. I was just like, oh, this has like so much going for it, but at the same time, there's just so much that's just falling flat. And it was kind of disappointing in that way, because it's like this could have been a phenomenal movie, and it's just holds itself back because it kind of felt like it didn't know where it wanted to go with the characters. They knew what they were going to do with the scenes, because the mixed media thing, I absolutely love when movies blend different like styles together. And I thought it was just a like gorgeous looking film.
Yeah, no, you get that, and the set direction.
Yeah,
was
like
good.
I was like, this is the best set I've seen in a movie in a long time. Like, where I'm just like, oh, like I'm just sitting there like looking around at all of this different stuff, and I'm like, man, I just want to pause it and look at everything in the background, because I was like, this is just so neat. But yeah, but I feel like this movie was worth it, because it is for rent on Amazon Prime for $3, and I definitely feel like it was worth the money to pay for, because just because of the wood scene and everything. And I didn't hate myself after watching it like I sometimes do.
Yeah. Like, again, it's like we said, like you kind of expected a little bit more out of it. I mean, but you do get some decent scenes. Like you said, like the dollhouse scene was good. The forest scene with the mailman was great.
Yeah.
And then the hallway fight scene was short-lived but decent. And then the last act with Sonny in the basement, that was, again, it could have done a little bit more with that, but I got the gist of it. There was one scene where like, man, it'd been cool if they did that instead, but it's neither here nor there. One of those things in my head where it's like, when it involves the stairs and someone peering out, and like,
yes, that's what
there was a scene there where like they could have done a little bit something extra there, and they just didn't. And I kind of didn't. I don't know, but again, I appreciate I appreciate the film. I do. I mean, it wasn't, you have to go out there with like really strong intentions to pull something like this off, and you have to applaud that. Again, some things work, some things don't. Just the characters just weren't the best in my opinion, while everything else looked amazing. And like I was interested in that world that they created of the Sunny show, or Miss Shirley and Sunny. And like I enjoyed all that. Again, I wish they did like more stuff outside, I guess, with like, I don't know, it's just like there's like so many things that you could have, again, packed in there, but I guess they just wanted to do the less is more approach and just like give you a few things here and there. But again, that wood scene with the mailman's just like top notch. It's like, man, where's
that?
this?
Yeah, that was so great.
Yeah.
I honestly was not expecting that, and when I saw it, I was like, "Whoa, what is going on? What is
Yeah.
this all about?" And I was like, because it just came out of nowhere, and I love when seeing like things, you know, take me by surprise because some too many movies like to just spoon feed everything to you. And it's just like I appreciated that so much. Just
Yeah. I mean,
simply, yeah.
maybe it could have been a little bit longer, but maybe they would have. I don't know, because it is fairly short. Because I think it's like 80 some minutes, so it's like a very short watch. And maybe they could have like extended a few parts here and there, but for what it is, it's fine. I didn't, again, like Ian, I didn't mind it. Um, it just like a lot of things kind of fell flat in my opinion for me when I watched it, and like it had, again, it had its hits and it had its misses. Um, but it's not the worst thing I've watched. There's far worse, but it's just for what it was. It was fine. Like I said, it was a decent, okay watch. It wasn't amazing or anything, but it had some great set design. The stop motion, the puppets, the creatures, sort of the crazy wild stuff with the house and the mailman in the forest. The last act was Sunny. I mean, I felt like that was kind of, I mean, you like Ian said, it kind of, you kind of see where it's going towards the end there. Um, and again, there's like a deeper message about friendship in there, and so it manages to hit all the everything it wants to do, but just like again, it has that little middle section where it's just just like sort of mellow, where it's just like
Yeah.
get the story going, we're supposed to look for Sonny. I mean, they find the door with the hallway behind, in the closet, but it's like they could have looked more around the house and done a few things here and there, just sort of elaborated the lore of
Yeah.
Shirley and Sonny. More backstory on the characters. There's a few things there where they could have elaborated more and um, made it more impactful instead of just like,
Yeah.
I'm not really caring about much of these characters, or their reasonings, just like, which you kind of want to in a film that's like, again, only three characters.
Oh, exactly. And I did feel like um that the whole build up for the story was to find this doll. And I kind of felt like that took a back seat for most of this film. And I'm like, that was the main purpose, but we didn't really get a whole lot of that. It was just like mostly just them indulging.
Yeah, like I brought it up earlier, but like the little cartoon of Sunny in the house and like how it's there and then it disappears. Like they could have had that go on where Rose is like seeing it throughout the house, you know,
Yeah.
and just like where you're having more of a deeper connection. Like, okay, there's something here with Rose that's it's there. Like again, you see that very early on, but you don't see it ever again. And just like so, it's like again, they get on something and they just drop it. And like you could have had that scene, randomly, like on going to the kitchen, seeing it on a drawing, seeing it on this, seeing it on that, and just like it would have like connected Rose with the whole overarching story of the film. But they don't do that, and just like again, just
Yeah.
like it could have again connected everything a little bit properly.
Yeah. And I really wanted them to do more with that because I'm like, I had was like maybe something uh like happened in the past that Rose remembers and trying to forget or something. I wanted more with Rose.
or some type of memory that like Rose and Shirley, bonded
Yeah.
on, like maybe or something like that,
Or
where
she
like
knew that, yeah.
Sonny's more connected to Rose in that way.
Yeah. Um, or, something like that she has memories of her being of, Sonny being alive, but tried to, like write it off in her head that it was just like I don't know, like I wanted something more between Sonny and Rose, more of a connection. Uh, but we never really got anything. And I really wanted to know what happened that
Yeah,
made
yeah,
them, you know, push her friends away, like,
yeah. What was the straw that broke the camel's back, basically?
yeah. And that made her want to ask for them to come back. And because they even said it was so weird that they chose them. And I'm like, okay, we're going to get an explanation. No. Unless she was trying to see if maybe they became better, any of them became better people. But that was never explained. Nothing was ever truly explained why she asked those three to come.
Yeah. Or really again, the cause of Shirley's death, that was more of just a conundrum of just like, oh, she just died, and some reason the doll
Yeah.
is in this house. And it's just like they're they set up that mystery, like you need to find Sonny. And like they never really like get to the point of, as you said, like why, you know, like why does she need to be found? Like what's the whole point? Like, yeah, we get this house and we split it and the funds for the house. But it's like they're just like, oh, let's go to the house and just reminisce and look at stuff and oh, stuff like that. There's like it just felt like there needed to be again more of a presence of like the journey of like the characters, and they're like, I wouldn't say comeuppance, but just like where they were and how they are now, and just like maybe uh, forgiveness or some stuff like that, where like they're sorry for what they did to her. Like, I mean, mainly just like again with Rose is the only one that does that in a sense, because she still kept in um, not kept in touch, but she still watched the Sunny show. But
Yeah. And
like I said, there needs to be something more that the overarching story of like Rose and the connection to the house, to the doll, and like everything else, just like to keep that little bit of a little mystery of live. Like there's something going on here with just Rose in general, and you just again you don't have that. It's just like, oh, here's here's the little cartoon in the house, and now it's gone, and then like nothing ever comes of it ever again. And okay,
yeah. Yeah. I mean, there really should have been something more that connected uh the main characters to Sonny other than just what happened in high school. Or give us more. Like, honestly, I kind of wish this movie was just a tiny bit longer so we could have more exposition.
mm-hmm.
But I mean,
Yeah, there's just a lot of things open.
yeah, that was my thing. I was like, God, I don't feel like I completed this film, because when it was over with, I was like, that's it. I need more. But hey, at least we're wanting more of a film instead of like, hey, cut about an hour of this off.
Yeah, yeah, that's the case. Like when you have a good world building film, I mean that's what you kind of want out of it, instead of just like, well, you need to cut this and definitely get rid of that scene. That was pointless. We've had a few of those moments where like films went on, like what was the point of that? Like we get the point, we just want more of the reasoning behind it. We need more character development, just like reasoning for the characters, and like everything else around it was great, but just like the three central characters are just not the best part of the film, and that's our main central characters.
Right. Exactly.
But
And
yeah,
I think, I think it was good for what it was, and definitely has some fantastic scenes that I think people should watch. Just because it's like I was just sitting here just blown away by the visuals, and that I think that's one of the things that is really making this film for me. And I think this film stands out for the visuals itself, like because I just like we have the hot air balloon themed room. What was that? What were the other two rooms?
well, I know the one with the dollhouse.
Yeah, the dollhouse room and
And then the living room with like the VCR and like the tapes, and then like
yeah,
the doll in the background behind the chair that's looking at you when you're not looking at it.
and just every single
So
room
yeah,
in
and
this
then in the
place
hallway, yeah,
was something different, and I loved that because you got the wall with all the clocks and all the
yeah, and then
it was,
the introduction of Sonny, and I love that too. Like they did the whole Blair Witch Project, but with a puppet.
yeah. I was just like, man, this is. I was like, this is like such a fun looking movie. I was like, God damn, I haven't. I was like, they spent all of their budget making this house. If this wasn't a house that they knew, but like the paintings, all the unique artwork, there was just so many visuals in this movie that I feel like I could rewatch multiple times and I'll see something new in the background each time. And I was like, this is what I love, is like this is one of the type of movies that like is so visually engaging instead of just like a normal, like this is just a bland house with bland backgrounds and where there's nothing else to focus on.
Yeah,
I just love that. I was just so excited when I saw a movie this visually appealing to me. I was like, man, I would live in this house.
yeah. Like I said, that's one of the main strong suits of the film. That and the puppets, and some of the gore scene. Well, I wouldn't say gore scenes, but the stop motion puppet gore scenes and stuff like that. And it's just like they had. I mean, those scenes were fun. I'm like, man, where's the rest of this at? Because like if they kept that up, I can't do that because again, restraints and everything like that. But I just
Yeah.
like, man, that would have been fun if that was like, if that continued on that way. Just like,
And when that dude was looking in the mirror and that the puppet version of himself was staring
yeah,
back at him,
yeah,
I was
yeah,
like,
yeah,
I like rose up. I was like, that is so fucking like, I was like, there's like so many memorable scenes in this movie, more so than the acting. But what was that other girl's name? Not Rose, but
Mary.
Mary. Yeah, I was like, she is gorgeous. I kept getting a little distracted by that.
But yeah, I
I
don't
mean,
think there's. I didn't mean
yeah.
to. I'm just saying that
Oh
there's
no,
not much left there. Not
yeah,
much
that's what
left
I
to
was about
really
to
get
say.
into. But Ian, final thoughts, and then we'll go.
I say, it's worth the $3 to spend. That ain't much, and you know, I think it's worth it to watch this movie just simply because crazy puppet. And don't go in expecting a whole lot out of the film. You'll leave with more questions than answers, but that scene in the woods was just top notch. I don't think I've ever seen anything, a puppet movie, do something that outrageous, and I just wanted. Oh man, I almost am tempted to rewatch that scene just because of how cool it was.
Well, there's Snuffette, which is a snuff puppet movie where it's like a guy that with the mask, and he has a disdain for puppets, so he kidnaps puppets because like puppets and humans live in the same world, and he kidnaps some puppets and then he disembowels them in a snuff film way. So like there's stuff like that, but it's just like that. It's just like again that Evil Dead mentality in the film where it has that scene out of nowhere.
And I guess that's where we kind of get the idea of everything else that happens. Because I was thinking back on that scene later on with the dollhouse scene. I'm not going to say too much. I don't want to give any of that away because that was just cool as fuck too.
Yeah.
But like, I was like, oh, okay. So when I was like, oh, okay, that wood scene makes a lot of sense now. But yeah, I feel like there's not really much else to harp on.
Yeah. Well, like Ian said, it has some great set design, some great some great set pieces, some solid moments with the puppets and the gore, puppet gore, I might add. Stop motion. It just again the characters weren't all that drawn out as much as you would kind of want for the film. There needs to be a little bit more history with the characters and their reasoning for being mean to Shirley, because that would have definitely and like the approach of Sonny and Rose, there needed to have more of a connection. It just like glossed over a little bit. Again, that would have worked from the beginning to end, or from the dollhouse scene where it's introduced to the end of the film. But overall, it's fine. Like Ian said, $3, you can't really go wrong there, and it has some good moments. It's nothing amazing, but it's definitely audacious. And a lot of work went into it as well, because to get that level of set design is intense. And I do applaud them for going out there and creating, not just a normal, like, oh, we're going to do this slasher film, we're going to do another normal zombie film, we're going to do, like they went out there and did something, sort of original with like, the craziness of the puppets and stuff like that. But yeah, it's okay for at least that wood scene alone. I mean, we're gonna harp on that wood scene to like go watch it for that wood scene alone. But yeah, Ian, I think that's gonna do it for our review of the Fuzzies. As always, it's been great talking with you, and
likewise,
we will be able to. I believe we got a little bit left, maybe one more episode left for the closeout this month before we get into our big month coming up for Monsters Day, and that sets off a whole slew of marathons that we have planned, as always, for the most of the year. And so we should be back to our normal selves, unless something else pops off out of nowhere and we have to take care of it. But hey, we do these shows when we can, when we're able to, and just we kick back, have fun, and just talk horror films. And that's all we want to do. And we appreciate everyone listening to us and our ramblings. So thank you for listening, and we will see you next time here on Horror Night Oasis.
Good night, everyone.